Welcome in, everybody, to the PHNX Suns Podcast. I'm Lindsay, that's Gerald, that's Espo. It's been a minute since I've been on one of these things, it feels like, so let's see if I can remember how this works. How are you guys doing?
Doing good.
Good. I don't know what we just watched on that ASU show right before this, but
you witnessed greatness. That's high caliber entertainment.
Yeah, a big shitter really behind the Mac today. Yeah, I got to go watch it.
That is Eric's official new nickname, apparently.
Why couldn't white noise stick, but big shitter does? Okay.
Yeah, it's just kind of funny.
I mean, they both work.
I mean, they all work.
How would you guys know?
That's tough.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, blessings. Well, we got some news to dive into. We got a Woj bomb today. Woj tweeted out, David Fizdale is returning to the Phoenix Suns in a prominent assistant coaching role.
Apparently you don't remember how to do this.
Assistant of coaching a role.
Hey, it's an assistant of coaching
He's
role.
on the team, everybody.
It's a
Oh, Lord have mercy.
It's a Fizdale.
Yeah, so Fizdale's on Coach Bud's coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
That's good news.
It is. It means that there's at least a level of some consistency with the coaching from last year. And I know maybe that's not great news for some people, given how last year went. But to have somebody who was here last year, who was well respected by a lot of the players, and someone who reportedly, the last we heard of David Fizdale's name, they were offering him a front office position and he was expected to decline that. So I don't know if he just preferred coaching to a front office role or what's going on in that respect. But it's good to have him back because, like I said, a lot of the players like him. He's a defensive-minded guy. You just hope that it's one of those things that it was Budenholzer's pick as well and not kind of a similar situation to last year.
Yeah, that's my big concern. If we hadn't gone through last year with Kevin Young staying on Frank Vogel's coaching staff, I think I'd be all in on this because everything you hear about David Fizdale is great. But we went through last year and there were questions. Now, we never got any real clarity on it, but there were questions about how did that play into the coaching staff, the locker room, those kind of things. So I'm hesitant with that, but David Fizdale's track record, everything that comes along with him, his relationship that he built with Bull last year, which was solid and a big thing that may pay dividends in getting Bull back. There were all sorts of things that you heard good about David Fizdale. So I'm trying to be cautiously optimistic. But if it turns out this was the front office forcing Fizdale onto a coaching staff, I'm going to be a little less excited.
I would like to think that if there was even an ounce of tension between Vogel and Kevin Young last year, they would have learned their lesson and not repeated it again after they chose to move on from Vogel. Like I would be so shocked because I would hope that those people are much smarter than the rest of us. And when we talk a lot about chemistry and what goes on in a locker room, that you would know better than to do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, learn from your mistakes if it, in fact, even was a mistake. Because as much as we didn't get like full clarity on the situation, everything that Frank Vogel said about Kevin Young was appreciative. Yeah. He respected and admired what he brought to the table. So I don't even know that it was an issue in the first place. But if it was, learn from your mistakes. And I can't imagine that Budenholzer would just sign off on a guy that he wasn't comfortable with having on his staff. I did see some people speculating that, well, maybe they kept Fizdale because they just didn't want to pay him the money that they already owed him.
Nah.
They're eating $31 million with Frank Vogel. I don't think that's
and also a whole bunch else too, I'm sure.
Really?
I saw it a couple of times on Twitter. I don't think it's that. Like he fired Frank Vogel 1 year into a $31 million contract and is paying Bud $50 million. I don't think money's the issue here.
I also think it's a different dynamic having a head coach or assistant coach who was in the running for your head coaching job, was the highest paid assistant coach, and was like, this is the guy that's going to run the offense. Because you're not hearing that about David Fizdale. He's not the highest paid assistant in the NBA. Nobody's saying he's going to run the defense. He's going to run the offense. Like, I think that dynamic is what makes it different than KY and Frank.
He's just a member of his coaching staff. That's how at least they're setting it up as, right? And to your point, Eric, Kevin Young was set up as like, almost like a coach, 1B.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But we already know what Fizdale's going to take care of. He's going to take care of that data. Right? We know that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Once every week, take that for Data Pod. It's to keep its name. You don't have to change the name.
He also, according to Saint Shitbag in the chat, he brings the Riz. He's David Rizdale.
My guy. See, I'm part of the Saint Shitbag Mafia.
No, that's my guy now.
Hey.
That's my guy.
Oh, yeah, the big shitter.
Big Saint Shitter.
Yeah, go away.
You can't call me big shitter and then tell me not to embrace Saint Shitbag, okay?
That's fantastic.
There is one other thing that's really exciting.
Well, before we get to that, I do want to throw this out there because you did bring up Bol, and like we have heard a lot of guys, even Bradley Beal, had high praises for Fizdale, right? But Dwayne tweeted out this quote from Bol from this past season. Bol said, "That's my OG. Anytime he can help me, whether it's on or off the court, defense, offense, he pretty much is going to pull me to the side and coach me up." Like a lot of guys this past season have said really good things about Fizdale. So you know that they've enjoyed having him around. They're open to listening to him and hearing from him and learning from him. And if you have a guy who the players are bought in on, why not keep him around? Especially if Coach Bud is happy with him.
Yeah, and I mean, with Bol being a free agent and Fizdale staying, you have to wonder if that gives the Suns a little bit more leverage in terms of re-signing him because they can't offer him anything other than a vet min. So if a bigger contract comes in, Bol's probably gone. But like he's had one of his best seasons on a winning team here in Phoenix. A lot of that was because of Fizdale and the relationship that they had. A lot of other players spoke highly of David Fizdale. And so the fact that he's so well respected around the league, that has that continuity, these different relationships, those are all good things for the Suns moving forward.
Yeah, good like how, Espo? How else can those relationships be good?
Can we make some connections?
Oh, boy.
He and LeBron, like this, they boys. I'm excited. You want me to read this? Yeah. I'm so excited. This is from a great friend of ours. What's his name, man?
Michael Dunlap.
Oh, that's right. It's Michael Dunlap. I had to do that to him. He gave me a hard time. But he says Fizdale and LeBron have a strong history together, dating back to their days with the Heat. LeBron was in Miami for 4 seasons, all with Fizdale on the coaching staff. They'd reunite 8 seasons later in Los Angeles. LeBron went to Fizdale's wedding, and in spite of a request for no gifts, LeBron insisted Fizdale join him in a Samsung commercial. The respect and adoration go both ways, with Fizdale being outspoken on the All the Smoke podcast about LeBron deserving more credit. So yet another connection.
Okay, before we dive into the connection, I need to understand, I don't want any gifts. Okay, fine, no gifts, but come be in a commercial.
Nobody gets paid to be in a commercial.
I know, but I just think that's a hilarious gift to give somebody.
No one's ever given me that.
Me neither. I feel like it would be great, but I just think that's the most LeBron type of gift to give somebody.
I actually thought I misread it, and he gave him a Samsung, and I just misread it. Where is it a commercial? Hey, I mean, if you can make a cool $100K as a wedding gift just by being in a commercial, why not?
Yeah,
not
too shabby.
So, do we really buy this though? I mean, do we really think that part of why Fizdale remains, part of why James Jones is the GM, part of why they're talking Bronny at 22 is why is all about LeBron James? Is that really what we think?
I think it could be added value.
Yes.
But relationships across the league in general, regardless if you want to pick and choose which ones you focus on, like LeBron James and Fizdale or LeBron James and James Jones, relationships across the league do matter.
Yeah.
So it's an added value.
It's one of those things that that's not why we're keeping him, but it's an added perk.
Yes.
Like it's in no way, shape or form influencing the Suns' desire to keep David Fizdale. But if they get to the point where they're sitting in a room with LeBron James to actually talk this thing out, the fact that they have James Jones, David Fizdale, all these different people that they can put in that room, it doesn't hurt. I'll say that.
Yeah. We're missing the biggest connection here.
What's that?
Dare I bring this up? Do I stir the LeBron pot yet again?
Why not? I already dubbed this summer the Delulu summer. So why not?
True. Yeah.
We're just doing it.
Here it is. Who does Matt Ishbia hate?
Ooh.
We got mortgage beef and it's going to connect all this together.
Yeah.
Dan Gilbert. What team does Dan Gilbert own? The Cleveland Cavaliers. Who did LeBron have a problem with at one point as an owner? Dan Gilbert. Bring these two men together, Matt Ishbia and LeBron James, in their collective hate of one Dan Gilbert and build a basketball dynasty out of spite. Bring it to me now.
We love the drama.
Beef. It's what's for dinner.
I got nothing.
Gerald hates it here.
I
He's
do.
like, get me out of this. I don't want to participate.
It's fine.
Listen, it's all fun and games, of course. But again, like, I know we talked about this on Friday and you guys did yesterday. Where there's smoke, there's a little bit of fire. And like Bobby Marks was saying, like, you have to at least entertain this. You have to make the phone calls and see if it's a legitimate possibility or not. Or you're doing yourself a disservice. And honestly, like, we've talked about needing a point guard. We talked about needing this, that, and the other. Like, LeBron brings a lot of that.
Yeah. I'm going to continue to saying this. I think he still winds up back in LA. I'm going to continue to saying this until I hear things have changed on that front leading up to the draft and free agency. But if you were to look at locations, if he were to leave the Lakers, where it would make sense, where he could contend for titles, potentially play for his son, still be near LA, play with exceptional talent around him, play with front office executives he's familiar and comfortable with, like Phoenix is pretty high up that list. And there aren't a lot of other teams that check off as many boxes as the Suns. So I still don't think it's going to happen, but I'm not ruling it out either.
Look, I think we're dealing in a world where it's 10, 20% chance, but anything better than zero is something you have to entertain.
It's non-zero.
That's the thing, right? So that's why it's worth talking about. And Buddha the Schizo in the chat said I should have my tinfoil hat.
Yes.
I think we're venturing into an area where it's not as much tinfoil. I mean, maybe the drawing comparisons with the owners, but Fizdale, the other stuff, I think it's a little less tinfoily than maybe other things we've gone into in the past. But yeah, is it gonna happen? Probably not. But there's this weird possibility that's hanging out there. And is it LeBron trying to leverage the Lakers? I doubt it, because LeBron, I would imagine, could ask for pretty much anything, and the Lakers are going to do it without a third party that you're trying to use to gain leverage. But it's got to at least, I'm guessing it's got to at least be a thought in his head, right? That it could be a good situation. I could play with my son. Wouldn't I want to keep that option open? Yeah. Which is why I think, you heard Rich Paul say, well, he's a free agent. Then, player option. I think he wants to keep at least the window open, if that plays out, to play with his kid.
Yeah. I mean, it's as simple as that. But listen, Dagoon in the chat, this sounds legit, said, I saw LeBron and KD in a swan-shaped paddle boat on Tempe Town Lake today. No cap. So
I like it. I mean,
I'm saying
you saw him in a what?
I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
A swan-shaped paddle boat on Tempe Town Lake.
But I did, after that, see LeBron, Book, KD, and James Jones on a banana boat in Tempe Town Lake. So, yeah.
Listen, it's not impossible. St. Shitbag sent us another super chat, and they said, LeBron James to Phoenix equals Shitbag Mafia approved.
Shitbag Mafia?
What up? Can we get our jackets already? I want my...
I'm not wearing a shitbag jacket, dude. I'm sorry.
It wouldn't be the most embarrassing thing I've worn on this show. So.
Should we get one made, and whoever wins our BetMGM betting competition next year gets to have it for the year?
Yes.
And it's just like the traveling jacket. Whoever wins
whoever's in last place has to wear the St.
that might actually
jacket.
a better idea. We'll put
unless it's fire. If it's fire, then you never know.
I take this as an honor to be invited. Why are you guys hating it? But, by the way,
I think it could go either way.
I mean, that's true. Mark saw LeBron in a Filiberto's drive-thru, so
there you go.
Yeah,
he's definitely staying.
I mean,
listen, if you guys have not signed up for the BetMGM Sportsbook app yet, now is a great time to sign up. They have a bunch of cool promotions around the MLB, including their Grand Slam jackpot promotion that happens every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday throughout the season. And this is a weekly bet and get promotion. So all you got to do is place a $10 or more wager on any player to hit a home run every weekend. And if the player hits a Grand Slam on that day, you can win the $50,000 daily prize or a share of the prize with every other winning bettor. So be sure to sign up today using the bonus code PHNX. You place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through the BetMGM Sportsbook mobile app of at least $10, and you will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if the bet loses. You can check out the show notes for full details. And now you can listen to Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Bonus bets expire in 7 days. One new customer offer only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus only. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. See BetMGM.com for terms. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, North Carolina, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
Get stuffed, Ontario. You know what? I can guarantee you that you'll see LeBron in Phoenix this year.
Yeah?
You want to know how?
I do.
If you get tickets at game time for whatever team he's playing for, whether here in town.
There you go.
And you know what? If you wait till the last second to get those tickets, I can tell you they're going to be at a great price, because that's what game time does. You can save up to 60% if you wait till the last minute. Well, some people think procrastinating is a bad thing or a horrible habit to have. Everybody that's known me my entire life. I don't think it is when you can save 60% on something.
Facts.
So you might as well procrastinate a little bit with our friends over at Game Time. But it is not just about procrastination that makes them great. They take care of you. They have all sorts of great things that make it best to buy with them, including a last minute deals, flash deals, which are great. They happen at different times. You don't know. You got to keep an eye on it. Zone deals, where you pick the section that you want your seats in. They give you the best price, and then they pick the exact seats, which I've always had a great time with. And they have event cancellation protection and job loss protection. Like, sometimes you're hesitant. You don't know. You really want to see a show, but it's like 8 months out, and you go, I don't know what's my life going to look like.
Facts.
I have those kind of existential crises all the time. But with Game Time, they take care of you because, you know what? They got a job loss guarantee. So I highly recommend it. I've used them multiple times, and I've talked about it here on the show. But I want you to take the guesswork out of buying tickets, whether it's for the NBA, MLB, whatever you're into. They've got the tickets. Take the guesswork out. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use that code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. And again, create an account and redeem the code PHNX. You're getting $20 off that first purchase, which sometimes can cover the entire price of your tickets. So download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
All right, guys, let's continue to talk about additional assistant coaches who could potentially fill out the rest of Coach Bud's coaching staff. We do have one that has reportedly already happened. This is from Dwayne Rankin of AZ Central.
Who?
He tweeted out, Phoenix Suns land Vince LaGarza to work as an assistant under Mike Budenholzer, sources say. So this is the second known, at least reportedly known, coach on the coaching staff for Coach Bud. Mm-hmm. Garza was an assistant in Milwaukee during Coach Bud's last season there. He was an assistant in Utah before that, a player development coach in Minnesota before that, and he started his career with Coach Bud prior to that in Atlanta also as a player development coach.
Look, if Coach Bud gives a seal of approval based on the kind of guys he's had on coaching staffs over the years, I'm going to be totally cool with those hires. He has an eye for talent when it comes to coaching, and you know what? He's a guy that is familiar with Budenholzer, and I think that's key too. Sometimes you need guys that are very familiar with the systems you're trying to run to help these guys get up to speed on the roster real quick. So I'm good with it.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the connection to Budenholzer, obviously spending that year with him in Milwaukee, but also through Quinn Snyder, who he was an assistant coach for with the Jazz, and Quinn Snyder was an assistant coach for Budenholzer back in the day with the Hawks. So as we get into some of these other candidates, you're going to see these webs are very tangled in terms of the coaching tree and all these different guys. So having that familiarity, having some overlap in terms of what these guys probably like to do, being from the same coaching tree, I think that definitely helps. So it's going to be interesting to see what other names come up, but based on some of the past assistant coaches that Budenholzer has had, we can probably start to take some intelligent guesses at who might come up.
One thing I want to bring up is he's going to have some competition for these names because one of his former assistants in Charles Lee is trying to build a staff in Charlotte with the Hornets. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out too, because there's multiple guys with similar connections in the market right now for staffs.
And that also could be because within the article that Dwayne wrote, he did say, quote, "The Suns didn't retain any assistants from Vogel's staff and are having a tough time filling out a new coaching staff, sources have informed the Republic." And it could be in part because there's a lot of competition out there for other places, or maybe they're waiting for coaches to finally officially be named to teams to decide where they kind of want to go, depending on how much money they can get, what roles they can land, you know?
Yeah. And it's been, it's been a minute since Mike Budenholzer had a job, obviously taking that year off. And like you mentioned, he's going to have some competition because Charles Lee was like his right-hand guy for a number of years. He was a Hawks assistant under Bud for 4 years and then a Bucks assistant under Bud for the next 5. So these are a lot of the same guys that they're probably going to be going after. You can make the argument that the Suns have a more attractive, setup in terms of all of that, but maybe these guys want to start over with a Charles Lee staff. You just never know what those relationships look like, really.
Well, and I think it depends what a coach enjoys doing. Is it working with younger guys, helping them develop and become future stars in the NBA? If you like that, this probably isn't the place. Charlotte would make a lot more sense, and some guys are like that coaching-wise.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's dive into some potential assistants that could serve under Bud who have already been connected to him at some point in time throughout their careers. So first and foremost, the one that everyone keeps bringing up in the chat too, Darvin Ham. You guys will remember he's recently fired as the head coach of the LA Lakers.
Damn.
Somebody did ask if Darvin does come to Phoenix as a part of the coaching staff, which you have to ask the question if he even wants to do something like that, right? Would LeBron then come?
I feel like that. I feel like by the end of Darvin Ham's tenure, LeBron probably didn't view or didn't want him as the head coach anymore. This is just speculation on my part, but you could feel kind of the tension there. You could feel the heated looks from the bench when Darvin Ham was talking. You could see it on the screen with not just LeBron, but a lot of Lakers players. So I don't really know if that would help you in that respect, but he does have plenty of experience with Bud. He was under Bud as a Hawks assistant for 5 years and then another 4 under the Bucks before he took the Lakers head coaching job. So he's got nearly a decade of experience working with Bud. It would make sense for Budenholzer to reach out to him. Maybe Darvin Ham. I don't really know if there are that many head coaching vacancies anymore. The Wizards just hired somebody. The Hornets hired somebody. So
the next guy we're going to talk about is seemingly also potentially.
Yeah, like it feels like there's not a lot of vacancies left if Darvin Ham was holding out for like a head coaching position. So it might be a situation where you wind up adding him if he's not able to find a head coaching gig elsewhere.
Could it be money too? Because you just got fired. If you take another job that cuts down what you're being paid by another franchise.
I think it depends on the contract, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that.
So that could be something too. Or, you know what, if we're just going to go down the LeBron thing, they could just be waiting for JJ Redick not to get the Lakers job and then hire him here as a lead assistant. So just making shit up. Like this LeBron thing's got me going crazy. Yeah, a
little bit.
I would, you know what, if Budenholzer obviously trusts Darvin Ham, you make the call. If he's not in a place where he wants to coach right now, so be it. You understand that, but you give him the opportunity, I think, in the right of first refusal on that. And I know while people felt he wasn't great with the Lakers, but some guys are unbelievable lead assistants or assistant coaches that don't necessarily make it work as head coaches. And that doesn't mean they shouldn't be on your staff. Maybe they just shouldn't be your head guy sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, with Budenholzer and Darvin Ham, they won 55 to 60 games like multiple times in 2 different locations. Like, I wouldn't put a lot of stock in what he showed as a head coach versus what he would be doing here as an assistant with a guy that he's familiar working with.
Right. All right. Next guy who's also spent time with Coach Bud, Kenny Atkinson, an assistant with the Golden State Warriors, but reportedly is one of the lead candidates to be the next head coach of the Cavs. So that one we'll have to kind of sit back and wait and see. But if he does not get the position with the Cavs, do you think there's a potential we could pull him away from the Warriors?
Potentially. I mean, he spent 3 years under Bud with the Hawks and then got the Nets head coaching job. And then he kind of bounced around from the Clippers to the Warriors, spent 4 years with the Knicks before he joined Bud in Atlanta. So he's got a ton of experience as an assistant, got some as a head coach. If he doesn't get that Cavs job, I would expect Bud to at least reach out. But again, he's another candidate that is probably waiting for a head coaching gig somewhere and is probably going to get one. But if you could add Kenny Atkinson to your staff, like his Nets teams, they like to play at a fast pace, which is something that Bud's teams do. And they like to get up a lot of threes, which is something the Suns desperately need and something that Bud is going to be emphasizing. So it would be a really nice fit in that regard.
Well, and he's a respected guy too, which I think is key with this staff. When you have this many guys that are stars, and bigger names, you need to have guys that have the respect in the room, right? That's half the battle, is getting these guys to listen to your coaching staff and buy into your system. So if you can get guys like Atkinson that have that respect around the league on your staff, it's certainly well worth it.
One question, do you think that, because obviously Kenny Atkinson, the KD Nets, they wanted to go in a different direction in terms of head coach. Do you think him and an assistant coach is the same type of thing? I personally don't, but
no, because I feel like it depends on what your role is as an assistant coach, because there's a scenario where Kenny and KD don't really even cross paths from a coach player perspective, right? Like Kenny could be in charge of something that KD isn't really a part of too much. I mean, maybe a little bit, but it's not like he's your main guy where you have to have a super solid working relationship with.
I go back and forth because how much do you kowtow to that too, right?
Yeah.
Because at some point, do you trust your coach, your head coach? And if this is a guy he very much wants on his staff and he believes it can work, you hired Budenholzer to be the guy. I think you have to trust him in those situations too. And I mean, maybe you do the courtesy of letting a KD know that, this is likely going to happen, and we hope it's okay. But I also think, to your point, it's different when it's a head guy and an assistant guy, and that the whole tension between a head coach and a star can dissipate too after you're not in that situation, and he's not the guy making all the calls; he's just part of the staff. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
I don't either personally, but I was curious because I don't think, especially now in the league where guys bounce around as much as they do, I feel like maybe some guys hold grudges, some players, some coaches, whatever. But I mean, it was a while ago now. And I feel like coming on as an assistant is different than I'm your new head coach again.
Right. Yes. And Sean, 100%. I'm aware that assistants talk to players. That is their job. What I'm talking about is there's different levels of how involved assistant coaches are with specific players. Like you can have assistant coaches who pretty much only work with the big men. Assistant coaches who pretty much only work with wings. They have different roles and assignments. And that's what I'm saying is if it was something that was so big of a deal where Katie didn't want to have to talk to him that much, they could make it work if they really wanted to.
And that's the worst case scenario where that's
I'm only speaking as far as like a worst case kind of scenario.
Right.
That's all it is. Anyway, these next two names are maybe a little less widely known, but also very much so connected with Coach Bud. Ben Sullivan. So he is an assistant with the Houston Rockets, a shooting coach of sorts, was with Bud in Atlanta and Milwaukee. And here's the deal, though. he might be kind of hard to pull away from Houston because he did start in San Antonio as a video intern and worked his way up the ladder. Mm-hmm. And Ime Udoka recommended him for the internship.
Okay.
So that might be a little bit tough to pull him away. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there is a lot of respect and affinity there for him.
I am all in on Sullivan. If we're drawing connections, we're trying to lure guys to Phoenix through coaches and all these different things. Jock will come home with a Houston assistant.
That's the assistant coaching free agent connection we've been waiting for.
That's all I need.
That's the one.
100%.
That's all I
need. He, like you said, the Ime Udoka connection might be tough to overcome because he also spent some time with him in Boston as well.
Right.
But he did spend 6 years combined under Budenholzer between Atlanta and Milwaukee. So that might be a guy to keep an eye on. And you had also looked into a different connection too.
There's a couple things here that I think are interesting about Ben Sullivan. So you mentioned the time that he spent with the Celtics. A lot of people give him a lot of credit and say that he was a big factor in helping develop Boston's solid shooting from Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Okay. So he's not a quote unquote shooting coach, but he has been a specified shooting coach. He is an assistant, so he does a lot more things. But his mentor is and someone who's helped him kind of grow. And I apologize if I pronounce this guy's name wrong, but Chip England. And Chip is one of the better known shooting coaches in the league, has had a lot of success throughout his career. Ben Sullivan said that, quote, "I worked in San Antonio with Chip, one of the great teachers of shooting and the game. And he's also, to me, one of the best coaches of coaches out there. He really taught me how to teach. And for that, I'll never be able to repay him fully. He's one of the people I owe a lot to." So he's had a pretty good track record of coaches he's learned from as well and been able to share all of that information and knowledge with his players and help them really develop in better ways. And one of the things he said was that you have to go in and evaluate where they are physically, mentally, and what their relationship is with their shot. Then you build a plan around that after getting to know them, what they're about, and what they're looking to improve. And like I mentioned at the top, he's not a quote-unquote shooting coach, and he wants everyone to know, like, being a shooting coach, that was my title, but it's not my current title. But it's something that I do, something that I'll work on with guys. But it's not all that he does. But he would be super valuable to have here.
Don't put me in a box, he said.
Basically.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And for those who are unfamiliar, Chip England is well regarded throughout the league. He's probably spent 2 or 3 decades in the league now as a coach in some capacity. Most of it with the San Antonio Spurs under Pop. I think now he's with the Thunder. So very well respected guy.
Pretty sure he's made the playoffs 14 times and won 2 titles on a coaching staff.
Can I address Mr. Sullivan for a second?
Sure.
Ime Udoka just views you as a shooting coach, but actually looks at you as the full package. Come to Phoenix.
There you go.
There's my sales pitch.
There it is.
I do also, I mean, this is with a lot of coaches around the league, but I do also appreciate the kind of growth that you see from a lot of these coaches starting as like a video intern and really working your way up, because it's tough to get your foot in the door and to be able to work your way up, even though that is a fairly traditional path. It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if we'd be able to steal him away, but if we did, sounds like he'd be a guy that would be very valuable on a coaching staff. The next one, Patrick St. Andrews, an assistant with the Grizzlies, an offense guy, and again, also spent time with Bud in Atlanta and Milwaukee.
His name sounds like the greenest golf course you've ever seen in your life. But I mean, he spent 6 years with Bud from 2017 onward, 1 year with Atlanta, 5 with Milwaukee. The only problem, though, is that he spent last season with the Grizzlies under Taylor Jenkins, who was another assistant for Mike Budenholzer. So he did get poached already by one of Bud's guys in the off year that Bud took. Can Bud get him back? Maybe. I don't know. But it's not a great sign that the next job that he took was with another guy he was familiar working with pretty much daily during their time together.
I mean, with a name like that, he's a shoo-in for Sweet Baby Angel on the coaching staff next year. I mean, that's the thing. Where's the loyalty lie, right? I would think that 7 years under a head coach would probably outweigh the 1 year he spent, but there is obviously the connection with Jenkins too. That's the tough part. I think that's why it's difficult to put together a good coaching staff, because if you're a good coach, you aren't sitting unemployed in most cases, right?
Yeah.
Unless, like Bud did, you take a year off after you were dismissed from a job. So I think that's what makes it difficult, is trying to navigate that, trying to talk to guys if they're willing to move on, figuring out, will that team let them move on? There's so many reasons why it's tough to build a quality staff, even for a guy with such deep connections like Budenholzer.
Yeah. Also, Jenkins brought in Patrick St. Andrews to help them with their offense and gave him a lot of credit. Like, not just, hey, we want you to come in and be a part of it. Like, we want you to help us fix it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's not like he's just on the sidelines being like, I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah.
He's very valued within that organization as well. But he is a guy that some younger players and some guys who are maybe on the end of the bench have said some really nice things about him. Bucks forward, Thanasis Antetokounmpo said, quote, "It's what he brings to the culture side, what he brings to the players, individually to the players, not just the offense. He gets you ready." And then other younger guys on teams that he's been on have just talked about how he's helped them find roles within star-studded rosters, which is something we could use here too.
Yeah.
All I heard was, get this guy in. Giannis is on the radar now.
We need to cut you off.
Listen, the lineup of LeBron, KD, Giannis, Book, Beal with Bronny off the bench.
It's coming. And Jock Landale.
You guys,
of course.
You guys,
listen, I know I said this summer is all about Delulu, but you're taking it one step too far.
You guys stuck me squarely in tinfoil hat land, and now I can't get out.
I love that we're making the Giannis connection, not to Mike Budenholzer, but
no, there's levels.
You need multiple connections.
Doesn't work. Doesn't work. Yeah. But here's something that I did like about Bud. So, well, actually, no, before I get into that, Gerald, you had a couple others that you wanted to toss out?
Yeah, just a couple other names. And some of these, most of you probably aren't going to know. But like Vin Baker, he was a player back in the day. He actually has been with the Bucks for the last 6 seasons. He stayed on between Adrian Griffin and between Doc Rivers. So maybe he's there, but he was there for 4 or 5 years, I think, under Bud in Milwaukee. Joshua Longstaff, he spent 2 years under Budenholzer with the Bucks and has spent the last 4 years with the Bulls. Mike Dunlap, that's a name that is well known around the league. He spent 4 or 3 seasons under Budenholzer with the Bucks. And then there's another guy named Chad Forsher who has 23 years of experience as an assistant coach. He spent 4 seasons under Bud with the Bucks. He was also a fellow Spurs assistant with Bud from 2007 to 2016. So that was almost a decade together. And he spent last year with the Jazz under Quinn Snyder, who is another assistant that Bud has worked with. So he's a name that has connections to a lot of these different guys, has a lot of time spent with Bud. I would expect him to probably reach out. And then Damari Carroll, actually a former Hawks player who spent 2 years in Atlanta under Bud playing for him, was a Bucks assistant coach under Bud in Milwaukee for a year, and then spent last year as an assistant on the Lakers next to Darvin Ham. So again, a lot of connections there. He's another name that I would potentially expect to see pop up.
Does Amari have any minutes left in him? We might need him at the end of the bench.
We might need some wings.
So that's just a few names. One of the things that did stand out to me, though, when I was looking up St. Andrews, was that Jenkins shared that one of his coaching strategies he actually took from Coach Bud, and that is to match his assistants with his players. And so that was one of the reasons why Jenkins really wanted St. Andrews on the team, to work with his wings there. But that makes me feel good about Bud as well. That's his strategy is going to be around. And maybe that's why it might take a little bit of time for him to fully fill out his roster, not just because we're waiting on different jobs around the league, but he's trying to figure out who is exactly going to be on his team and then fill out his coaching staff around that. And of course, he's had a lot of great coaches underneath him throughout the years. In addition to all the guys we already mentioned and shared the connection with, you know, you got Quinn Snyder in the mix too. I know we talked about Taylor Jenkins and Charles Lee, all head coaches currently. You know, so he's had a lot of good coaches. Seems like he knows how to pick them.
I mean, between Kenny Atkinson, Taylor Jenkins, Quinn Snyder, like that's a hell of a coaching tree. And I know not all of that can be attributed to him, but a lot of it can be, like Charles Lee as well. These are all guys that have gone on to be head coaches. So as much as I understand, Darvin Ham, as much as I understand that assistant coaching talk is not the most exciting thing, we'd much rather be talking about playoff basketball. These hires do matter because some of these guys go on to get their shot at the real deal later on. And Mike Budenholzer has a really good track record between Atlanta and Milwaukee in terms of finding some of those guys.
Yeah, right. Okay, it's time for us to refuel with our friends at Circle K before we move on to our next topic here. I had to stop at Circle K today because I just need a little pick-me-up. I hate that it's summertime, but I am thankful for Circle K, specifically their Polar Pops and Frosters, because I feel like it's the only really good treat you can get yourself when it's 185 degrees outside.
Yeah.
But you know what? Circle K has plenty of other treats if the Polar Pops and the Frosters aren't your jam. Like when you join their free membership program, the Inner Circle, you save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. You save 3 cents per gallon every single day. They also have a whole bunch of deals where you can, you get every 6th free on a selection of Circle K products, like all their little treats. Like when I was in there today, all their candies, the Circle K candies specifically, it was buy 5 get 6 1 free basically. And of course, they also have a ton of coupons and deals within the app as well, including a member exclusive deal on the Polar Pops and Frosters. Normal people can get them for 79 cents, but the Inner Circle people, 69 cents.
Nice!
Now through September 3rd at Arizona location. So join Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for all the details.
Hello, I've got to address you. You brought up Frank Kaminsky, and no, I have not forgotten about my great Frank Kaminsky and Kaminsky Co. I crack a beer at least once a week in memory of all of that. And that beer is one of the Four Peaks great delicious flavors that they have. Sometimes it's a Bad Birdie Juicy Golden Ale. Sometimes it's a Sun Brew. Every once in a while it's a Kilt Lifter or a Wow Wheat. I like the lighter beer if I'm honoring Frank. So you know what? I love me some Four Peaks as much as I love Frank Kaminsky, and I love their 8th Street Pub. It is my favorite venue to go out and have some food. Like, we get to do some meetings with some of our partners. I look forward to the Four Peaks meeting because I get a nice lunch out there at the 8th Street Pub. The pizza, the chicken tendies, whatever it is you like, they've got it. It is fantastic. And you pair it with one of their great beers and you've got the perfect meal. So visit fourpeaks.com/locator to find all your favorite beers and events, and check out at Four Peaks Brew or Four Peaks Pub to keep up with the latest at Arizona's hometown brewery. Must be 21 or older to drink Four Peaks. Please drink responsibly and honor Frank Kaminsky every time you crack one open.
All right, I do want to get your guys' thoughts. We haven't done a playoff update here in a couple of days. How are you feeling about this Mavs Timberwolves series? 3-1 now. You think there's going to be an extension here, or the Mavs take care of business?
I think the Mavs take care of business in Game 6, but I think the Timberwolves win Game 5, and I think it gets a little dicey there for a second. And I do think, we always talk about how no team in NBA history has ever come back from down 3-0 in a playoff series. That feels like the conversation we used to have about college basketball, where no number 16 seed had ever beaten a number 1, and then we saw it twice in a couple of seasons. I feel like it's coming at some point. I don't think it's this series, but I do feel like it, as much as there's that mental hurdle, I feel like some team is going to get a little bit of injury luck and they're just going to sweep the back half of a series, and it's going to happen at some point. I
mean, I feel like the more that we talk about it too, the more it becomes, pressure. And it becomes a thing that the guys want. That teams are like, not that they want to go down.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's kind of like an extra added of fine, let's just be the first team to do it.
Yeah.
F it.
Well, and the Timberwolves seem like quite the loose team. I mean, if you saw Ant and Cat after the game joking about who had how many fouls and everything, that ain't a team that feels the pressure, I don't think. I think they feel like they're playing a little bit with house money, but let me summon this.
Oh, here we go.
My Mavs are taking care of business in Game 5. Let's go. Let's end it. I need that jinx stinks on them. So hopefully that worked.
I mean, you might be trying a little too hard.
I am at this
You
point.
can't say the jinx stink.
I did when I said it about the Nuggets.
Did you?
Yeah, the very first time I brought it up.
I don't remember hearing it.
I will go back and pull a clip.
I thought you were very serious about it.
No.
Gerald
I
usually
100%
just tunes you out. He's like, oh, he's doing a bit of
Gerald
I felt
wasn't on the show.
I felt like the
okay,
Nuggets was more legit because you were genuinely mad at the Timberwolves. Like, I think there was a small part of you that genuinely wanted the Nuggets to beat the Timberwolves because you wanted a little revenge.
Lindsay, this is a goddamn Sophie's choice that I got to make here.
I'm aware.
I'd much rather the league put a halt to the rest of the playoffs and say nobody's winning a championship this year. You get 2 next year if you win. Then watch either the Boston Celtics or either of these 2 teams win an NBA championship this year. I will not be able to handle if the freaking Minnesota Timberwolves win a title before the Phoenix Suns. I will not be able to handle if Luka wins a title before Devin Booker. I'm not going to be able to handle Jason Tatum hoisting the trophy before Devin Booker. I don't want to watch these playoffs, all right?
Yeah, the
sound like a
the
child.
least painful of the 4 got eliminated. So I don't know who to root for now.
You know it's bad when Espo starts crying out to the heavens with his eyes closed. No, I mean it is, but I understand what he means though. Like it would be tough if it would all 4 of the Final 4 teams. We talked about this.
Yeah,
like
but
it
the Pacers would have been the easiest.
They would have been, but also we passed on Tyrese Halliburton. Like the whole Ant book discussion. Luka, we've covered that ad nauseum. Like, and then the Celtics, Jason Tatum book conversation. Like, the Suns are gonna catch, what are they called? Drive-bys.
Strays?
Yeah, strays. Thank you. They're gonna catch. They're gonna catch strays for this.
I helped Gerald with a word.
I did.
Let's go.
They're gonna catch strays no matter what. Like, it just is what it is. But again, I feel like losing to the team that you lost to, if they go on to win it all, that would be much better than watching the Mavs win it all.
I suppose.
And part of the reason why maybe the Timberwolves aren't stressing as much as they maybe should be is because they've been up within the last 5 minutes of like every single game.
Yeah.
Right. And so
chances.
you can make the argument that they've beaten themselves, and that's not a great thing. But if you're delusionally confident like Anthony Edwards is and has to be, like, you're gonna be like, yeah, we're gonna do it. We've been up. We could have swept, you know?
Okay.
You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it, molded by it as a Phoenix Suns fan.
This conversation got real sad real fast. So let's move on. I have 2 questions for you guys.
Sure.
Okay. So I know this happened a little bit back, but it has resurfaced on my timeline. So I want to know what you guys think. There's this video of Jalen Brunson putting on his socks and shoes. And he goes, sock, shoe, sock, shoe.
Oh,
and he has gotten clowned for it every time it resurfaces on the internet or somebody sees it. Because according to the rest of the world, it has to be sock, sock, shoe, shoe.
Yes.
So I want to know where you guys fall on this argument.
This is who put him on blast.
I think it was Emmanuel Quickly.
Yeah, Quickly.
Okay.
No wonder he got traded. You violated the sanctity of the locker room by putting this guy's sock habit on the internet.
Oops.
Yeah,
he could have pulled a D-Lo. It could have been worse.
It could have been worse. It could have been.
Let's not go down that rabbit hole.
It's sock, sock, shoe, shoe. Like, there's I don't know anybody that goes sock, shoe, unless they're like learning to tie their shoes for the first time and they just haven't been brought up right. Like, I don't. I don't. Come on.
Okay, there was a subsequent video that was even worse. That
There
makes me
was.
think that Jalen Brunson is straight up psychotic.
Okay.
He put on a sock halfway, then he put on a shirt.
Yes. And then proceeded.
What in the actual hell?
Yeah.
Like, how does that even come to mind to put half a sock on and then a shirt and then the full sock and a shoe and then the other sock and a shoe?
It's crazy.
Okay,
behavior.
can I
No.
also release a little bit of my psycho?
Oh no.
I think if you're sitting in a chair, like, okay, if we're sitting in a chair like this and I'm just like a natural sitting position, I'm going to go sock, sock, shoe, shoe.
Yes.
But if I'm sitting on the floor where I have, like, I would sit on the floor and I would put one foot under me like I'm sitting on the chair and then this shoe would go up. I would do sock, shoe, and then I would switch feet and do sock shoe.
Why? You've got to make the same amount of effort.
No, because if I did sock and I'm sitting on the floor and one foot is tucked underneath me already for the most part, then I got to untuck the foot and then I got to tuck them back in. And it just seems like a lot of work. So if I'm sitting on the floor, it's sock shoe. If I'm sitting in a normal position on like a couch or a chair or the edge of your bed, it's sock, shoe.
But wasn't he sitting in a chair?
He was sitting in a chair, so I'm not giving him a
excuse.
pass. I'm just saying if you're on the floor, I will give you a pass. That's all.
I've always been worried about Lindsay, but that confirms it for me.
Well,
I mean, it's just a level of laziness that I want. She's like, well, if I have to move my foot to where I'm going to need to put it on anyway.
Percent energy saved.
Oh my gosh.
Like that's too
much.
much.
So in this scenario, are you then sitting on the foot you've already put the shoe on so you can still be sitting on a foot? Or are you at that point just having both feet out? No, because I don't want the internet talking about your feet. That would be weird.
I put a lot of times. So, okay. The reason why is because if I get dressed, if I put my shoes on in my room, which most of the time it's in like the living room, but if I put my shoes on in my room, my bed, I have like a big bed frame, so it's tall. So you can't just sit on the edge of it and still reach the ground like you can on a couch or a chair, right? So I have to sit on the floor to put my shoes on. Either that or you're all weird trying to bend over and put your shoe on, which I don't appreciate.
Okay.
So that's why I sit on the floor. That's where this all stemmed from.
Right. But even if you're sitting on the floor, like you put your socks on together first before you even fucking think about shoes. You just sit on the floor with
both your feet out?
Yes.
Okay.
If I'm putting my shoes on.
Not a child. I'm not
sitting on the floor to put my shoes on.
I mean, if you're putting your shoes on, yeah, both my feet are somewhere I can reach them at the same time.
Because I sit on the floor like I sit on the show, just like this. Just like this. And
am I the only one who doesn't sit on the floor to put their shoes on?
I sit on the edge of the bed and I just put socks on.
Yeah, couch.
Bed.
Or you stand up like a real person.
I've done it standing up too. Like
standing up.
Okay, but everybody knows what my stance is. The real answer is screw socks.
Yeah, we already know you hate
socks.
Socks are awful.
You live in the wrong city for that.
Socks are awful.
The wrong city.
I mean, I've been shamed. I always wear socks here. I mean,
one time is all it took to shame Espo into never wearing sandals into the summer
works.
Leah.
Eric, you put a poll in the chat. What does it say?
83% say both socks first. 17% say sock, shoe.
That's higher than I thought it would be, the 17%.
Really?
Well,
yeah.
Maybe they sit on the floor.
I thought it'd be like 10%.
Those are the 17% on Twitter that I like to avoid usually.
You just said that you would prefer to not wear socks in the state of Arizona. I think that they're avoiding you.
Hey, they can. I mean, I'm not denying that I'm weird, like in my own way.
I love how everybody in the chat is making fun of me for sitting on the floor. Brian said, not even my 4-year-old sits on the floor. Listen, the floor is underrated, okay? And also, can I just give you a piece of advice as we all continue to grow older in this life? One of the best things you can do for yourself is fully lay down on the floor and then just get up. Because it keeps your motion. Listen to me. I am being so serious right now.
This new workout regimen.
This is real Lindsay talking to you, okay? I'm being so for real. If you lay all the way down on the floor and you get back up, it keeps that range of motion. Because a lot of times what happens when you get old is you fall down and you haven't been ever on the floor for the last 30 years getting back up, and your body is unable to get you up, which is why they have all those buttons and watches and things for older people.
Right.
But it's helpful as you age to continue doing that range of motion. So you're more likely to be able to get up off the floor if you fall down when you're older.
You know where I do that?
I'm just trying to help you guys.
In my workout, not when I'm putting on my shoes.
I'm just trying to help you guys. Too bad Saul and Flex aren't here, the two oldies that need it the most. I
appreciate that. I'm going to start doing that. And next year when we revisit this, I'm going to be so shredded from my lay down and get up routine.
So like, are you just doing it like once? Like let's say you're like, oh, it's 3:00. It's time to do my lay down and stand up. Or do you just randomly
I have an alarm set on my phone.
Do you know what would happen to Flex if he laid down on the... Somebody would have to put him on a gurney.
This is what I'm saying. Flex could have used this 30 years ago.
Oh, my God.
It would have helped.
See, I thought you were going to say laying on the ground is elite because sometimes you just need to lay on the ground.
But that's
I do agree with that.
Facts, too. Sometimes just laying on the ground is so nice.
It depends on the surface, though.
I don't even care.
I mean, it's true. You don't want to lay down on an uncomfortable
I'm not laying down on
floor.
the hardwood floor. Maybe tile if it's like really hot and you need to cool down. But other than that, like it's carpet or nothing.
We all remember our old producer, Emma. She literally would lay on any floor at any point. I would lay on
any floor.
That was because of the stress that we put her on.
I mean, that's fair.
Oh, my gosh.
She was probably putting on shoe sock as the way she was
That was just shutting down.
Yeah, she was losing it because of us.
Okay, last one. I also saw a video on my timeline this weekend of Bol, and he was talking about how he wants to learn how to sew. He thinks it would be a practical knowledge to know. Plus, he's really into fashion and kind of all that kind of stuff. So if you could learn any hands-on type of skill without having to practice, which one would you pick?
I'm just now thinking, could Bol put his shoes on while standing?
No, that would be so hard.
Have you seen how long his arms?
That's true.
He could sew for somebody 3 seats away.
That's true.
A practical skill that I need to learn. According to my wife, doing the laundry, how to cook,
I think those things
timeliness, any of those basic life skills that I did not learn before I was 40.
Okay. I would probably go with like either singing or playing an instrument.
I think playing an instrument is one of the top choices.
I feel like it's either that or like being really good at cooking or something like that.
Yeah, cooking is a second option for me. Learning a language.
Yeah,
I don't know if that counts because it's not like hands. Like you don't like do something.
Unless you're like reading Braille.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean.
But I still think if we're going to add it into their language would be a big one.
Yeah.
Mark brings up a good one, carpentry. That'd be kind of cool to just be able to build.
Dude, woodworking is hard.
And it's super cool
easy.
what you can make. Like that's a great one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Flying a plane, so when the zombie apocalypse inevitably
You're good to go?
happens, I
can go to the island.
I can take off.
You can head to the island.
Yeah.
Smart.
Just like treating a human being like medically. That would be a good skill to have for the apocalypse.
I mean, but is it for yourself? Because at some point I'm just going, screw it. It's all about me at that point, right?
In a zombie apocalypse?
I mean, I'm probably dead first, but I'm not even making it the
already
plane.
had
But
this.
we did have this. I just
That's what I'm sorry.
I don't know. I think for me, like
coding is a good one.
I love photography. I think that's just a fun one to be good at.
Coding's a good one.
Yeah.
Coding
is a good one.
Yep, coding is a good one.
All right. Last super chat here from Buddha the Schizo. They said sock, beanie, sweater, shoe, shirt, sock, glove, shades, glove, shoe.
How did you find out Lindsay's routine?
I love it.
I'm sorry, but Gerald's face 5 seconds ago was incredible. When he was trying to figure out what was going on.
Sock, beanie, sweater, shoe, shirt, sock, glove, shades, glove, shoe.
This is somebody who's about to go commit a crime.
Hold on, the shirt goes over the sweater?
Buddha, are your things like lost in the room? Is this a walk of shame?
We're just like collecting them as we go. He's like a scavenger hunt.
He's just naming things he's seeing in the room right now. He's got full brick.
I love lamp.
But I do think Buddha asked me, when does the beanie go on? That's always the last thing. Yeah. Beanie is always the last thing.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So you got to pick and choose based on what you're wearing, which color.
I would imagine for you it would either be the first thing or the last thing.
I can decide. No.
Lindsay just wears a beanie all the time.
Listen,
showers with the beanie.
I will pick the beanie sometimes first and then decide an outfit around said beanie.
But you won't put it on.
But the beanie goes on last. Yeah.
Okay. I have one more skill.
Okay, what is it?
I'd like to learn how to appropriately lay on the floor. Apparently it's good for my
long-term
health.
It's not just the laying on the floor, it's the getting up part too.
Yeah.
Don't forget
apparently it's good for my health. I need to learn these things. So
I don't understand the typos here, or maybe I just don't get it, but Saint Shitbag sent us another super chat and said my job requires me to be better off on diamonds? Better something else on diamonds?
Certified in diamonds.
Certified. Okay, I was like, okay. I'm confused. Okay. They sent us a super chat and they said, my job requires me to be certified on diamonds. I'd like to be certified in gems.
Okay. I need to know, is he now like, Adam Sandler in Uncut Gems.
This is how I win.
Is he giving that speech to like a KD in a jewelry shop here? This is how I win. Yeah,
I guess.
I really want to be part of the shitbag mafia.
I know.
He's dealing in diamonds.
I think it makes sense that somebody with the last name Ruby is part of the same shitbag mafia.
Go.
That's all I'm saying, Mr. Shitbag. That's my application.
Big shitter.
And with
Big shitter and Ruby. There we go.
We'll say goodbye.
Big shitter, big gems.
Just kidding. But for real, though, thank you all for hanging out with us. We appreciate you. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out. We appreciate it. It helps us out a lot. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. And, of course, follow the show on social at PHNX_Suns. You can also follow me at Lindsay Smith AZ. You can follow Gerald at Gerald Bourget. And you can follow Espo at Espo. Espo, take us home.
Let me make it clear. When I finish a show, I think of Shane Diefenbach. Ahoy, hoy.
We all silly like the mayor.